welcome to Pointless Conversations. I'll be your host, Jesse. I'll be talking about Superman Legacy. So if you're not aware, the DC universe, or the DC extended universe, has had some hits and misses along the way. Like major hits like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and a couple more divisive ones like Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and Justice League. This is mostly going to be about Superman Legacy. But before we get to that, I want to say that I love Man of Steel and I love Henry Cavill. I think he's one of the best Supermans we've ever had. I really like that movie. I understand why some people do not like this movie. I get the negative criticism of it, but I really enjoy it. It's my favorite Superman movie. But I'm not opposed to something new and different, just as long as, they stay true to the core of the character. Like, I think that's kind of what I want. I want them to just stay true to the character. And I think Man of Steel did a pretty good job with that. Yeah, it got dark in a few points, but I enjoyed it. I love the music in that movie. The imagery, everything that Zack Snyder did for Man of Steel was good in my opinion. People could disagree or whatever, but that's fine. And we've had some stinkers along the way, and some that I'm kind of like okay with, like Wonder Woman 84. Just not the worst thing I've seen, but in comparison to the original, not great. And a couple other stuff here and there where it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, anyways, it's getting rebooted because James Gunn and Peter Safran are now the heads of the DC studios. Warner Brothers hired them to literally create a new studio just like Marvel, which is what they should have done from the beginning, like, to tell you the truth. It's what they should have done from the beginning. But now they're doing a new studio, and I think that we're going in a good direction, I think. I think that as long as they understand what makes these characters special, I think, and that they're actually fans of the material, I think that this stuff will be good. But talking about the DC universe in general, that will be a discussion for another day. Because I'm talking about Superman mostly. Because we already had two of the main characters already cast, which is Superman and Lois. And I forgot the actor's name. Hold on. David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan. Roshana? I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, she's from The Marvelous Miss Maisel on Amazon Prime. She's really good. I love that show. I still haven't seen the final season, though. But I've seen the previous ones. Really, really good. Love it. Great show. I have not seen David Cornsweet in anything recently. Or at all, actually. So I'm a little bit more like, I don't know what this guy's about. So, but he looks the part. I think he looks good. Let's see how he looks like in the suit. That would be interesting to see what he looks like in the suit. And if he's a very tall actor for what I've seen in the photos that I've seen. So I think he's going to be, I think it's good casting. Again, I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. Her I have, so I know what we're getting with her. But with him, he's relatively unknown. Like most Superman actors, most of them cast an unknown for the most part. I mean, Henry Cavill was kind of an unknown. I mean, he's done stuff prior, but he wasn't a household name until after Superman. So, yeah. And we know that James Gunn is going to direct, he's going to write and direct this movie. And I loved most of his stuff in, Guardians of the Galaxy Volumes 1 through 3. His Marvel stuff is pretty good. And The Suicide Squad that came out a little bit more recently, which I love. That movie is so good. It's kind of what the original Suicide Squad should have been from the get-go. Like, everyone was just perfectly cast. The scenes, it gets a little dark, a little bit violent, but it was still funny. And there's even moments of heart in there with Ratcatcher and King Shark. Even when things go crazy with Starro, the Conqueror, it was just an entertaining movie. And then the spin-off, Peacemaker, that show was hilarious. It was so good. So I feel like James Gunn understands these characters. And I know some people will have some criticism about the tone. Is he going to make it all jokey? Is he going to make it, like, inappropriate? Like, is this going to be family friendly? Like, but I think he's intelligent enough to know that Superman needs to have its own tone. It can't have the same tone as the Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad and Superman are not the same thing. They, like, one is a group of villains and one is literally the hero that started it all. So, like, they're not the same. They're just not the same. But I think people like to pigeonhole actors and directors when they have a certain look or feel to their movies and think that's all they can do. Like, and I think that's kind of not fair to think that directors and actors can only do one thing. I mean, there's some that can only do one thing. Vin Diesel comes to mind. Like, he literally can only do one thing. He's probably, I hate to say it, not a great actor, but whatever. He must have his fans because those movies make billions of dollars all the time for that guy. So, anyways, a little bit off topic. But yeah, like, I think James Gunn will be able to do justice to the character because I think he has more range. I mean, just look at Guardians Volume 3. The emotions that you get from a raccoon and how dark and serious and somber it got. Like, he could do dark and serious and somber, and he could do funny. And I think he could do emotional, like, scenes. I think he could do that. Like, I believe in him. I don't think he's done a bad movie. At least not yet. So, let me know if in the comments if he's ever did a bad movie. I don't know. Ones that he was actually writing and directing, not like a producer or anything like that. But, I don't know. I think he will do a good job, personally. So now that we move on to what I want for the Superman movie, Superman Legacy. It comes out in 2025, which will start the universe, the DC universe, brand new. Like, we're starting from scratch. This is like the beginning of this universe. Number one I want is I want a good Lex Luthor. Like, I grew up in the 90s, and Superman the Animated Series was my first exposure to Superman. And then, the Christopher Reeves movies came afterward. Like, I saw those because I wasn't alive when those movies came out. But yeah, the animated series was my first exposure to Superman. Uh, so I really enjoy the depiction of Lex Luthor in that show, like the way he was drawn, the voice acting. Clancy Brown, I think, is the one who voiced him. I think, yes, he definitely. I think he voiced him. The voice, the way he looked in the show, and the way he was like this powerful business person, where most people in Metropolis actually believed and trust for the most part. Though a couple of times, he gets embarrassed by some experiment or something that went wrong, like Bizarro or something like that. And then the other influence, or the other Lex that I really enjoyed, was the one from Smallville, because I think him being friends with Clark during high school was an interesting choice, and I think it gave more depth to Lex and Clark. It gave him more of a dynamic that I really like, and his being a good person and then descending into like darkness was very interesting to me in Smallville. And so the balance of, and he also had a sense of humor in the show, and like just the way the gravitas that he had, and the I don't know. I think the actor Michael Rosenbaum did such a good job as Lex Luthor that if they could combine the animated version of Superman the Animated Series Lex Luthor and the Lex Luthor from Smallville and have that in Superman Legacy, that would be amazing. Because I'm sorry, but as much as I like Batman vs. Superman, or Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, terrible title, by the way, I didn't care too much about Lex. Now, his motivations and his machinations during the movie was very Lex Luthor. Like, everything about his plan was very Lex Luthor. But the actor just didn't have the gravitas or the powerful image that I think Lex Luthor should have. He felt to me more like the Riddler or an eccentric Batman villain. Like, he was in the wrong movie. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And I like that movie. It's just not my cup of tea, so to speak. But yeah, I don't want a silly, goofy Lex Luthor. I want serious gravitas, powerful presence, the most intelligent man in the room. He's like 5 steps ahead of everybody else. That's the Lex Luthor I want in a Superman movie. Because you have Superman, who's the bronze. I mean, Superman's intelligent too, but you have like the bronze versus the brain. And I think that dynamic is very interesting when it comes to Superman. Lex Luthor. I just think it would be really, really cool if we had a Lex Luthor like that. My second thing that I want most is to see a villain we have not seen before in a Superman movie. And one in particular I want to see, which we have seen him in other mediums. We've seen him on television in a very short-lived show called Krypton. It was an okay show. It was like a prequel before. I think it was even before Jor-El was even born. So yeah, I think so. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but I think it was before Jor-El was born. So it was like Jor-El's grandfather or something like that. Well, anyways, they had this character in that show, and they've had him in video games before. And that's who I'm talking about, is Brainiac. Brainiac needs to be in a Superman movie like yesterday. Like it just needs to be said that he's this at least the second. Me personally, I think he's the number one villain of Superman, but that's just me. Everybody would say it's Lex because he has name recognition, but Brainiac to me is the number two or at least number one like villain for Superman, and I want to see him in a movie so bad. Like I want to see him in a movie really bad. Like just the way he looks aesthetically, like everything about him, his spaceship that looks like a skull, the whole tentacle thing, and him being an alien robot computer virus thing is like, to me, like Collector of Worlds, that whole thing, like to me that would be like just amazing to see that character. And again, the character has shown up in television on Krypton, the TV show Krypton. It has shown up on video games, the Injustice video games. And he's been in animated movies and TV shows. But for some reason, we can't get him on the big screen. I don't understand why. Like, it's not that hard of a concept to... Like, they could even team him up with Lex Luthor, you know? Or Zod, if they wanted to bring Zod, like, again. Though I think, personally, I think they should retire Zod. I think sometimes he gets overused. I mean, Lex Luthor gets overused. But I feel like Lex Luthor always has to be a presence in a Superman movie. That's just my opinion. Like, you're your biggest villain. I think he needs to be... he needs to be a presence, no matter whether he's the main focus or not. But back to Brainiac, he needs to be the main villain. And the special effects and the makeup and stuff that they can do with it, if they get a really good actor, like, don't do what they did with Ultron and just make him goofy and comical. I want him to be threatening. I want him to be scary. He needs to be frightening. None of this Ultron, this crack jokes kind of crap. We're not doing that. He needs to be frightening. Like, he's a one-man alien invasion. Like, he could just send out drones of himself out there because he's like a supercomputer. He just needs to be the villain of this entire movie, me personally. I don't think James Gunn's going to go in that direction, but that's just what I want. I don't know what James Gunn has planned, but that's what I want. Number 3 is I want Jimmy Olsen in this movie. I feel like he's been sidetracked in most recent mediums, like even in animated stuff recently. Like, except for the most recent, which I'm gonna probably have a podcast or an episode of this of My Heroes. God, what is that damn show called? My Adventures with Superman. That's what it's called. My Adventures with Superman. They're going in the right direction when it comes to the supporting cast. But Jimmy Olsen, I really like on that show. So I really want Jimmy Olsen to be in Superman Legacy. Like, I want him to be an essential part of the trio. Like, I want Superman, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen. And I feel like in the last movies, Jimmy Olsen... I mean, in the Man of Steel universe, in the Snyderverse, so to speak, he was killed off in the director's cut of not Justice League, Batman vs. Superman. So, I feel like he needs to be part of the whole cast. Like, he was killed off in that movie. Like, no, we need Jimmy Olsen. And then the other thing I want, will be my 4th thing that I want, a lighter tone. And again, coming back to My Adventures with Superman, I think that tone is good. Like, I think that tone with My Adventures with Superman is like perfect template for James Gunn to use for Superman Legacy. Like, I really do think that that tone would be amazing. I also think the tone for the Superman animated series is also good. Like, I just want Superman to be the beacon of light and to be the good person that he is. I don't want dark and brooding. We saw that already. Like, and it's a legit interpretation of him. There's no criticism about that. I just want something fresh and new that we haven't seen in a while. And I don't want to go into the direction of cheese and corniness. Just genuine lighter tone. Like, Superman likes being Superman, in other words. I think that would be great. And then, yeah, just a lighter tone, like color palette, everything, cinematography, everything just bright colors. And just a hopefulness to it. Like, when you leave the theater, you're like, man, I cannot wait to see another one. Like, like the marketing for the old Christopher Reeve movies, like, you'll believe a man could fly, you know, that kind of thing. That, I want to feel like that when I leave the theater. Because we already had a more brooding, darker version of Superman. And I feel like we had that already. And I feel like we need to just change up the tone. I'm really open-minded of new interpretations of classic characters, as long as the core essence of the character is still there. Like, the recognizable traits of that character is still there. You know? You don't have to religiously stand by certain things, trivial things like, oh, the S is different, or the cape is shorter, or whatever. I'm always okay with new interpretation of characters as long as the core essence of that character is still there. I mean, a good example is like the Joker movie. Like, that has almost little to nothing to do with comics, like, at all, other than a name and a couple of characters from Batman. But they kept the essence of Joker in a way. Like, it still felt like a Joker movie. Like, it still felt like Joker. It didn't feel like I'm just watching a drama. It still had elements that distinguish it from other dramas. And the same thing with any other character, but the same. Like, lighter tone is extremely important. And then my final one is a great musical score. Like, I don't know who they're going to get to do the musical score. I don't know if John Williams ever wants to come back to Superman, because obviously his Superman thing is iconic. And then Hans Zimmer, who did Man of Steel, is also amazing. I wouldn't mind if he came back. I want a great musical score for as a soundtrack. I want a theme. I want a legit Superman theme where it plays as soon as he does something heroic. Like, you're gonna hear that music play, just like the original theme from John Williams back in the 70s. Like, I want a theme where as soon as Superman is catching the plane in the air or saving somebody, from a burning building, and you hear the theme play. I want that. They did it with Wonder Woman. And I love what Hans Zimmer did with when Wonder Woman started to do something like super badass, like that music started playing, that guitar riff, that you knew Wonder Woman was about to kick ass, or Wonder Woman was near. Like, that's what I want for Superman. And same with Batman. Danny Elfman did with the original Batman theme. I want, when you hear Batman theme, you know he's around and that he's gonna do some ass kickery, you know, with the music, that gothic sound that movie had, that version of Batman had. So I would like a theme, an iconic theme that as soon as you play it, it's like, yeah, Superman. The animated series had a theme, which is a great theme. Like, what happened with themes with superheroes? Like, I think the Avengers had a theme, but it's always the same 3 notes or something. Like, I really want a theme. I can't even recall any of the Marvel characters having a theme other than the Avengers theme. And that's so disappointing. I feel like Captain America should have had a bombastic theme. Iron Man should have had a iconic, like, bombastic, like, theme. Like, Hulk, you know? But going back to Superman, I want Superman to have another iconic theme, musically. That's not just a rehash of what we heard before. I mean, I would be okay if they went with the John Williams score again. But come up with something new. Something that will blow my socks off. Like, just blow me away. Like, just do it. Just do it. Come on. Don't be chicken. Just do a new theme. It would be playing on loop in my car or wherever I'm at all day if it's iconic enough. Yes, I'm a nerd. I purchase these soundtracks. Music is so important to movies, you know? They're so important to movies. I think it elevates the material. It really does elevate the material. And that's it. Those are the things that I really want from James Gunn's Superman Legacy, coming out in 2025, which seems like a very long ways off, but before you know it, it's here. And that's it. That's it for. Thanks for listening and having this pointless conversation with me. And till next time, bye.